On today's episode, I sit down with Dr. Charon Hribar and Liz Theoharis, both from the Kairos Center, the Poor People's Campaign, and co-editors of the collection We Pray Freedom, Liturgies and Rituals from the Freedom Church of the Poor. Charon is a song leader, cultural organizer, and social ethicist, and serves as the managing director of cultural strategies and communications for the Kairos Center, and co-director of theomusicology and movement arts for the Poor People's Campaign. Dr. Hribar empowers leaders to integrate rituals and arts into organizing efforts. Reverend Dr. Liz Theoharis is a theologian, pastor, author, and anti-poverty activist. She is the executive director of the Kairos Center and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. Liz has been organizing in poor and low-income communities for the past 30 years. In this episode, not only do we dive into some of the trauma and terribleness that is taking place right now, but Liz and Sharon remind us that there is hope, and not a naive hope, but a hope that is real and attainable, and how ritual, prayer, song, and community are vital parts of realizing that a new day is possible for everyone if we only had the will to do it. I was moved many times over by their words, depth, and creativity, and I know you will be too. Thanks for spending time with the Amalgamation, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Liz Theoharis and Charon Hribar. My name is Bruce Reyes-Chow, and you found the Amalgamation Podcast. Each episode, I chat with inspiring humans, activists, artists, academics, and adventurers as we joyfully and courageously co-conspire to make the world a more loving, compassionate, and just home for everyone. Welcome to the Amalgamation. All right, thank you all for being here today. I am so excited to be here with Liz Theoharis and Charon Hribar, authors and editors of We Pray Freedom, Liturgies and Rituals from the Freedom Church of the Poor. So let's just start off with having Liz and Charon introduce themselves a little bit. So Liz, if you could just tell us what's important to know about you these days. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us here. Bruce, as you know, I'm a fangirl of everything you do. But yeah, I am a Presbyterian pastor. I'm a biblical scholar, and I'm mostly an anti-poverty activist. So I direct the Kairos Center for Religions, Rights, and Social Justice. I helped to co-found and co-anchor the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. I've been out here trying to fight against Christian nationalism and put forward a kind of vision and theology of everybody in and nobody out. And, in these days that are very hard and very difficult and very dark, I'm seeing unbelievable hope amongst grassroots people, people of faith, people not of faith, in communities all across the United States who are actually just like doing the work and doing beautiful organizing and mobilizing and, holding out a vision of everyone thriving and not just kind of trying to survive in this horrible moment.
Awesome. We'll definitely get back to that hope piece. Yes, for sure. Sharon, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's important to know about you?
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I am also with the Kairos Center for Religion, Rights, and Social Justice with Liz. I helped to co-found the organization over 20 years ago. We were once the Poverty Initiative and now the Kairos Center. So Liz and I have been working together for a few decades now, working across the country to build a movement that is connecting struggles of, all kinds of folks that are dealing with, education and healthcare and environmental issues. And, I think that for me, it's really become a home. It helped me to really find a grounding and understand even the struggles my own family went through. As one thing to know is I came from a family of steelworkers and in the Western Pennsylvania. And, we both experienced a hardship of those mills closing down. We also had a lot of environmental contaminations from, not only the steel mill, but we had a uranium plant, a nuclear power plant, and now there's fracking happening. And this movement has really been what has driven me to try to find other people that say it's not okay that things are this way and that there's something else we can do about it. And I don't have to just be, isolated or afraid of what's happening right now. I think one of the great things is seeing everyday people really wanting to connect. And over these many years, as I've done many hats of organizing and education, I've also really grounded that work in culture and song. And right now, I think I'm excited by just a lot of folks that are looking like, how do we respond in this moment and overcome kind of the fear and isolation people are feeling. And we have a lot of song leaders and folks that are coming forward and wanting to think about, like, how do we respond in a way that will inspire others to join us. And so I've been cultivating, that work for a number of years and really see it blooming in the midst of so much crises that are happening.
Awesome. That's awesome. So what's before I have some questions about this particular collection, but what's the origin story of this one? Why bring together this collection of liturgies and prayers and all that? Why did you say, oh, this is what we need now?
Yeah, so this is a project I think it was in the works for a little while. We've been looking at the role of faith and the role of culture and the role of movement building for many years in this work. And, we have always kind of wanted, how do we continue to bring the powerful stories and experiences of folks out there doing this work every day together? And we started working on it a few years ago. Even I think it's become even more relevant now in this moment. But, under the guise of what is this Freedom Church of the Poor tradition, the Freedom Church of the Poor that we kind of founded as an online community and also has in-person manifestations during the pandemic, has really been a home for organizers and faith leaders and others that are just really trying to find a way to think about, like, why does our faith matter in this moment and how can we do something to change what's happening? But the rituals and prayers and songs that are in here predate that kind of current formation, but they all, I think, really speak to this, what we talk about as a Freedom Church tradition of really getting to the roots of our faith traditions that have historically fought, for liberation, going all the way back in, like, from myself or the Christian tradition to from the Jesus movement, through the abolitionist movement to current movements, and I think we really saw a need, especially right now with the rise of authoritarianism, with the rise of Christian nationalism, to really look at these experiences of folks, reclaiming the stories and reclaiming these faith traditions and saying, where this is not what represents the Christian nationalist, story is not what represents our faith traditions. And actually, we can root ourselves back in these stories and a lot of the kind of stories of communion, stories of the Exodus, and why the Jewish tradition, does the Seder every year. These are all liberation stories, and they're stories of, bringing people together and welcoming the migrant and freeing the captives, not of, kind of this manifest destiny or whatever is being kind of spouted right now.
Well, Liz, you had mentioned earlier about seeing so much hope in all this. And, I think there was a narrative before we would say, we go through these rhythms of ups and downs and lows and highs in society, but it does feel different right now, right? It feels like we're not just in a rhythm and we're like a season of like, this feels much worse. And I think you can find places that are saying, well, it is just uniquely terrible right now. And you can make an argument for that. And yet you're saying, and I think we can point to these places where there's an immense amount of hope, and you're seeing, you said you're seeing some beauty and all those things. And so talk about that a little bit. When you say you're seeing hope and you're seeing community being built, what do you mean by that when you say that you're seeing that? Like what?
Yeah, I know, right? It's such a time as this, right? I mean, we spend a lot of time traveling, connecting with grassroots leaders all across the country. In the spring, we were in 50 communities over the course of a couple of months. And that has kind of continued right into the summer and fall. And I think, what I have the kind of privilege of seeing is these grassroots leaders who, whether it's have set up, free dental clinics in their churches and are now saying that the resurrection of Jesus is seen in the fact that folks speaking, dozens of different languages are getting free dental care, right? Or whether it's like a Jericho walk around, the New York City building where families are being kind of kidnapped and abducted because of immigration practices, and having faith leaders and other people of conscience, walk around silently or in song, using some of the rituals even from this resource, and, sending a message the corrections officers, to the judges, and to the families, that you're not alone, and that this is a moment where we actually get to show who we really are as a people. And is that going to be that we're going to keep families together and see families as sacred, or are we going to be continuing to kind of rip kids away from their parents? And then just like, in all kinds of places, we were in Binghamton, New York, because of some of the USDA cuts, some of the precursors to SNAP cuts. The week we were there, 200,000 meals weren't going to be delivered. I mean, 200,000 meals. Like, this is not like, okay, I can go to my house and bring a couple of cans. Like, 200,000 meals. And folks figured out how to put the pressure on the state and how to come together and not make it okay. Not like say, okay, well, we're going to just abdicate the society's role of taking care of people, but we're going to show that we can figure this out and we can make this society work for everybody. And I just think that there's something really amazing and beautiful about that. And some of it is in the songs and the culture and the rituals and the prayers, and all of it is in the actions that people are standing up right now. And I think if we just read the mainstream like media or follow it, and if we just kind of listen to the conversation about, the deep division and hate of our society, I think we are actually missing where the vast majority of people are. I mean, the vast majority of people in this country, even according to polls, still, believe in universal healthcare, believe in expanded voting rights, believe in gender affirming care. I mean, like, even the things that people are told that we're like so divided on, or believe in just immigration policies, even these issues that we hear over and over again, like people, don't want this. It's just not true, actually. And you can see that when you're in little rural areas and big metropolitan areas, like how people are living into a vision of what they think should be. It is not
Right.
what is. And so there's this disconnect there, but there's a lot of hope and possibility in that disconnect, because what people are demanding is something that means that we can lift from the bottom so everyone can
That's
rise.
great. Yeah. So you put this thing together. As I was reading through some of these, I used to pastor churches for a long time. I can't believe I'm on my 30th year of ordination. What has happened? That was like for old people. I don't know how that has happened. I don't know how long you've been ordained, Liz, but oh my gosh. Anyway, So this is something. So if you all are listening to this and you're a congregational person or you do movement work, like I could say, okay, I'm going to use this in, say, the community that I'm using. So the danger, I think, is, right, I use this and then I'm like, oh, great, I've used this. And now I've done my good deed and I've connected. So how do I not do that? How do I not use this and say, okay, I've done this Black Lives Matter thing, and now, good, I've now done my thing. So what's your advice that I picked the one, now I make myself feel good about that? Like, I'm now this suburban congregation that is, I see myself as progressive, and I'm with all good intention. So I do this thing, and now I've done my thing. Like, what do I do with that? Like, how do I embody that better than just doing the liturgy?
Yeah, I will say that it's one of the reasons we decided to write the book as we did. Originally, I think we thought about just a compilation of lots of liturgies, lots of resources. And as we thought about that, we really wanted to take a step back. And, the first 5 chapters, the way that they're set up, is really grounding people in thinking about, like, how do we practice these ideas and these practices in our tradition, and where do they come from, and really grounding people in stories of the communities that are practicing them. And it is a really wide variety of folks too, right? Like, there's 80 contributors that are part of this book in different ways. And our hope is that, like, your community can find itself in here and find a way to connect in through these stories. So it's not just like, I see this liturgy, it's around this theme, I can pick it up and plug it into my context, and like, that's it.
So don't do that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Do read the whole thing, right? Because it's you can, right? But we really are encouraging folks to, like, it's supposed to inspire us to take this on in a different way, right? It's to take our practices and think, yes, I can integrate this particular liturgy, but it's really like asking us to rethink, like, how do we do worship? Right. How do we do ritual? Like, why are we doing it in the first place? Right. Where does it come from? And so that's the goal, is really to have a reimagination, I think, in this moment.
Right. And there's reflection questions, and you ask us to engage in it. So again, if you're going to use it, it's not just a plug and play, right? You're not supposed to just pick it out and then be like, oh, good, I did this one. It is a matter of there's a before and after and during that you're supposed to. It's not simply a liturgy resource, right? It is engagement.
Right.
So then, I'm sure you had a bunch of, it's like developing the canon of scripture. Right? You must have had many that you didn't include, which would be interesting to know who didn't make the cut. You don't have to have that one. But like, how did you decide? Like, what process did you go? Did you have like 500 of them and you just had to whittle down and decide? I mean, what was a little bit of the process about what you did include? Did you think through kinds of things, areas? I mean, what was a little bit of the behind the scenes of how you decided what you wanted to have included?
Well, I think a little of it is connected to like the chapter themes that we kind of pull together in this. So, we start with remembrance. We move to healing and transformation. We then go to mourning, then taking action together, then celebration, and then the last piece is actually a little more like various different kinds of liturgies. But the reason that we we group them that way, because I think it feels really important to us that all of those things are included, and that we're able to have cultural and ritual expressions and liturgies of each of those experiences, including taking the time to remember, including taking the time to mourn, right? And I think a lot of times in our society, we try to kind of fast forward through the hard stuff, but like, and then sometimes in congregational context, we do spend some time in the hard stuff, but it's just kind of more individualistic, right? It's just like our family is experiencing health, issues, or we had to bury a loved one. But we don't necessarily as a society remember those who have come before, or mourn, these structures and systems that are making it so that one of the leading causes of death in the richest country in the world is poverty, right? And so I think what was really important to us was these kind of themes, and not just going to the celebration and joy, though also having the celebration and joy that isn't about ignoring how hard things are for poor and dispossessed people, or for folks that are experiencing systemic racism, or for military families that are, being torn apart by war. Like, but that there is joy and celebration even in those hard and like hard places. And so yes, there were many other kinds of things that could have been included. But I think part of how we chose to include these pieces was because they each had their own context, whether that was social and cultural and economic, as well, whether it was a different faith tradition. I mean, I think it felt important. The majority of rituals and liturgies in this are kind of from a more Christian tradition, but there are very strong and important ones that are coming from Hinduism, from Judaism, from other faith traditions as well. And so I think it felt important to show this question of kind of the role of ritual and liturgy and prayer and protest and song and, liberation, like throughout, like lots of different places, lots of different peoples, lots of different issues, but like as a kind of ground up, central kind of project.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions about the book, but what was it like doing this together?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is, as I mentioned, Liz and I work very closely together, and in lots of different ways for lots of years. So, I think it was helpful to have, a partner to be able to think about, just what Liz was laying out, like what are we really trying to do here? I think we did actually have a number of forms that this book was taking, and kind of getting to the place of really asking what do our communities need, what kinds of practices do we need to be able to think about, and in really different kind of contexts, I guess, because we are reaching across both like communities of faith and
Right.
organizers who are trying to think about like what is the role of organizing. And so or what is the role of faith in organizing. And so, I think with both of our, both experience and kind of, all the folks that are in this book are also people we know and have worked with. They're not just, we didn't have
Right.
like a random submission process where people could just send something in around a theme. So I think it was, of us holding these different relationships that we could bring to, the table, and to really, it's about growing this Freedom Church community and this Freedom Church tradition in this moment.
Right. I won't ask you about things you disagreed about, because you only had 2 votes. I mean, there must have been some, split votes. You had to bring in somebody to break the ties. Okay, so at the end of the day, this book is part of this journey towards abolishing poverty, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day. We're trying to, and folks would be like, well, okay, fine, that's great. That's a great goal, but that's never going to happen. What do you all, you're like, well, okay, fine. So what do you say to that? What do you say to people that it's like, well, that's great. Okay, go on your merry way. I mean, how do you respond to folks? It's like, well, that's fine and dandy for you all. How do you respond to those folks that are like, you're just wasting your time?
I mean, this is obviously something that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Not just in relationship to this book and these rituals and these songs. Right. And, I think a lot of times that comes out of a place of hopelessness and a lack of imagination, right? And on the one hand, it is incredibly true, right? I mean, again, we live in the richest country in probably human history, definitely one of them. And almost half of the population is poor and low income right now, right? And in the last couple of months, as more and more cuts have happened, I mean, 60% of Americans are saying they can't make ends meet. I mean, this is not some small little group of people or some small problem, but the reality is that we are living in like absolute abundance, right? That if we had the political will and moral consciousness, poverty could end actually like this month. We have, 5 abandoned houses for every unhoused person. We throw out many more times of food than it takes to feed everyone that's hungry in the world. Like we could do this in environmentally sustainable ways. And in fact, green jobs are so much better for everybody than war jobs are, right? I mean, just all the things like, and many of us know this, we know the statistics, but it's hard to like actually like embody it, right? Because everything in our kind of media and in our like thinking is like, it has to be this way. We can't change it. And that's just not true. And it's also always when like things feel particularly bad, that is actually a moment when things can change like incredibly for the better. I mean, again, like we think about something like the U.S. chattel slavery and like the issue of like how the Dred Scott decision happens, like where it's like where Black people have no rights that white people have to respect, right? I mean, like this is about as, I mean, what could be worse than this, right? And yet it's the beginning of actually the abolition of enslavement, like, and the roots of abolition are in like how bad things are and how much it seems like it's always going to be this way. And I think that's true. Like that we sometimes will use this little saying that we heard from folks that were fighting apartheid in South Africa, that a dying mule kicks the hardest.
Yep.
It definitely feels like there's a lot of hard kicking happening right now. But it's because like really a new world is trying to be born. And there are folks with a lot of power and a lot of wealth and a lot of authority that are trying to hold back like what it could be for us to all live in abundance, like with everybody in, right? And so it is possible to end poverty. It actually is costlier to keep it going. It actually doesn't just shorten the lives of poor people. It actually makes all of U.S. society more unhealthy with shorter lives. Like it actually doesn't just cost poor people more to be poor. It costs everybody that we have this, and so part of it is breaking out of that. And to be honest, that therein also comes this set of resources, because, some of those songs, some of those prayers, some of those liturgies, start to embody what it is for us to be living in a place where everybody has the right to live, which might not be how it is right now. But it's really our political will and our moral consciousness that are getting in the way.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel like we just say amen and we open the doors and we all head out. Yeah. I mean, I hear that, and I think I hate that if I participate in that kicking. I think there's what parts of my life are doing that kicking back, or when I see my friends and colleagues holding on tight. I mean, that's the other part. And then I also, how many people have to suffer before it gets to what's the point where we are at the bottom, and how many people are having to suffer before we get there? I mean, I think those are that point of how bad does it have to get before we are that, and that moment, are we in that now? We do see it happening, and how bad does it have to get before we're there? I mean, it's just,
yeah. I want to say though, I'm sure Sharon has something brilliant, and I don't think it has to get bad.
Okay.
I don't think and this is also a trouble I have with some of our theology, where we start to think Jesus has to die for us to be saved,
okay.
right? Jesus had to die because he was challenging Rome,
right?
And then therefore, it was kind of, he had this,
it's because of what he was doing.
It's because of what he's doing that, in that way, he has to die because they need him to die. Just similar to it doesn't have to get bad. There's nothing redeeming about how bad things are right now. And where something good doesn't come out of the suffering, but something good is possible that isn't suffering.
Right.
And I just feel like I learned that theologically and practically, from poor and unhoused people who can hold out hope that it doesn't have to be this way, that this is not as good as it gets, that something else is possible, even though only hell has been the reality for so many people's lives. But I think sometimes we start to kind of justify and redeem the suffering. And I want us to not do that, because nothing about my experience, including my own struggles with homelessness or my own struggles with the lack of healthcare, that didn't have to happen.
Right.
It did happen. And some of it was then, informing my commitment to making sure that other people don't have to go through that. And so anyways, I just wanted to kind of jump in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other piece to that is that we also have a really, in this society, we pretend things aren't as bad as they are over and over again. And so, I think whether it be the constant, well, I'm not really poor, that person has it worse off, that country has it worse off, right? And so, we talk about all the time that there are, 140 million poor and low-income people, probably higher. That number is higher. The poverty numbers are going up, right? Or that many more of us that are one paycheck, one healthcare crisis, one emergency away from, really losing everything. And at the same time, because of the way debt works in this country, how many people are in tremendous student loan debt, college or credit card debt, healthcare debt. And, I think there's this way of constantly trying to put a facade up that things are better than they are. And even politically, I think that's been a real detriment, and why, in some ways, those that are in power right now, while they might not be responding to those in this moment, that is what they ran on in the last election, right? They actually were acknowledging people's hurt in ways that I think, a lot of haven't been acknowledging that, and I don't want to get into left and right politics at the moment, but I do think there's a real need to say, things aren't just great. We haven't just accomplished a lot. People are hurting. And if we actually speak to that, like Liz was saying earlier, when we saw people vote for Trump, on those ballot initiatives that were around living wages or healthcare, people also voted for those things, right? And so there's this piece of, also not just glazing over and saying like things are okay and getting sucked into all of the reality TV shows that are like, trying to aspire to, what the kind of facade of American society is. Like, I think there's a piece of that we have to like stand in and then say, and it doesn't have to be this way, right? And there's ways that people are connecting. And what, Dr. King talked about of the new and unsettling force, that, there are millions of poor folks that have nothing to lose. And if we follow what, Liz was talking about of folks that have been responding and showing that there is a different possibility and saying like, I'm not just poor because, I messed up. Like this is a mass phenomenon, right? So.
Right. And which is what folks want to say, right? I mean, they want to put the blame on choices you've made and all those kind of things. Yeah. I'm just going to assume that things politically are going to be similar or worse by the time this comes out, but this will be about a month out. But just in our current climate, this will probably come out in November. Let's just assume this is coming out in November. How do folks stay grounded? What are some disciplines? How do you help people stay not to get overwhelmed by everything that's going on, to just to kind of stay within themselves, stay connected, stay just to keep within themselves and not just get overwhelmed by everything? What do you say to your folks to just kind of not just survive, but to continue to thrive in the midst of everything that's happening right now?
I mean, I think one of the things we say is like, let's sing together a whole lot more. And let's like do ritual together, like so that we feel like we belong and we can make meaning with each other and that like we're not alone. And let's like pray, not like just with our like conversation with God one-on-one, but like that it doesn't that we can do something about this and then kind of pray with our feet, right? By like, so I would really recommend like folks, there's amazing work happening right now. And many, 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 many people are connected to a lot of that already. If you don't feel like you are, then like you can check out the Cairo Center. You can check out any of your, like any.
All the links will be in the show notes.
Like you can check out, like who in your community is defending immigrant families, who in your community is engaging in mutual aid, like who are standing up protests to say we're not going to cut our schools, like like just like actually you don't have to do everything, but doing something with people like actually both makes a difference, and it helps us to realize that we are many and that we have a power therefore because we are many. And so I feel like some folks like to think about like their individual kind of self-care practices. And that's not actually how I like to move through the world. Yep. I mean, I do plenty of things that are about taking care of myself and my family. And I have a blast with my teenage kids. So if you have kids, or if you know kids, or if you have teenagers, or if you know teenagers, like they're a lot of fun and they're awesome. So do that. But I think sometimes self-care and like actually takes you away from like the fact that we are living in a forest fire right now, and that like actually going out and helping to like turn that fire off with a lot of other people is about staying grounded, is about staying hopeful, is about like making a real difference, not because you have to do it all, but because you can do something.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you were talking about these places of hope, I was just out at California City, which is this detention center out in the middle of the desert in California with a group of about 100 folks. And we were singing to the detention center, and then folks were singing back to us. I mean, it was just this like amazing.
I think our friend Lou Aya was helping to lead the singing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, and these are groups like we were coming from the Bay Area, meeting people from Southern California. I mean, want to talk about these hopeful things, right? If you can't find groups that are organizing and doing things, you're not looking very hard. I mean, because there are things that are going on all over the place. Anyway, I mean, sorry. So, Sharon, did you want to add any other things that you would offer?
Oh, wait, no, I just wanted to say, so you were mentioning that one of our colleagues and comrades, Lou Aya, was just leading a pilgrimage out to the detention center.
Part of our, yep.
Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, I think he was sharing, and we know from our experience as well, just, like, I think when Liz says, like, we need to sing together, it's not just a nice thing. Like, there's actually, like, it is actually a really important thing, especially when you have things like the walls of a detention center that are separating families and the community that is outside. And when you have, you know, people that do feel isolated in so many different ways, like, there is something, I think, that is both transformative in, like, our whole being that happens in these songs, as well as, you know, we're constantly bombarded with all kinds of other messaging that is like really negative, that is really divisive. And if we don't reinforce these kind of messages, you know, that is about like our humanity and like lifting up our dignity, and telling the folks that are there, like, we are here for you, you know, that no human being is illegal. Like, these are words that are in these songs. You know, we have a song that was in the book that one of our, you know, Jewish song leaders, Joshua Blaine, wrote, that says, "No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all." And again, those aren't just words, right? It's a whole way that we are suggesting that we have to come together and live our lives as. And I think we have to like be repeating these kind of mantras in this moment in order to sustain.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, we're going to end with a few things that I do on this podcast because, as folks know, everything we do, people I have on this, passionate about the projects we do, but we're also humans, complex people that do also love a lot of other things in our world. And so I ask people about other things that they like to do. So we start off, the first one is the nerdy and the niche. And so are there other things that you do in your life that people might not expect? So Sharon, we'll start with you. What's the nerdy or the niche thing that you have in your life that people might not know or expect from you? What's the thing?
Maybe, I don't know. You know, I'll get my slack for this, but I'm a pretty avid Steelers football fan.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, you know, in some ways it's a little sacrilegious if you aren't a Steelers fan and don't follow every Sunday. You know, we're Catholic and we would end the service early on Sundays.
I'm
the
telling
sermon
you.
On Sundays was very quick.
Those
so
football
you could get
towns, like I have a friend who went to serve in Denver. And when he went there for the first time, he's like, I am not going to give into Bronco culture. And then by the first year, he was like, oh, I'm giving into Bronco culture. I mean, those football towns are serious. Yes.
It's
okay.
deep. And if you know, and it's actually, if you're going to organize in places like that, you do have to understand it, right? And connect with folks on it.
I got invited to go to Nebraska to speak. And they're like, well, we got to look at the football schedule first for the college games.
Football.
I'm like, okay. Okay. All right, Liz, what about you? Nerdy and niche.
I mean, there's everything about me that's nerdy. So maybe I'll go with niche, which is that I every week play video games with my kids, but I am horrible. I have like literally no like what is it, hand-eye coordination. I mean, I'm actually a good driver, so I have enough that like I
well,
can
but there aren't
drive
like 12
a
buttons in driving, so you know.
No, exactly. And I you know, I'm horrible, but make it a practice that we have to play all the time. And then they always are going to beat me. So like my daughter, who isn't always great either at games, like can still totally, you know, can totally win. So yeah,
that's great.
So we have a lot of fun.
I when I play Two Truths and a Lie, so I'm a Gen Xer, so I used to go to arcades to play video games, but as soon as they came into the house, I stopped playing. So I've never played Nintendo.
Oh wow.
And now I never will because Two Truths and a Lie, that's one of my go-tos. Because as soon as they went to multiple buttons, I just stopped playing. Like I played Atari, that one, but I never mastered the like multiple. I just never did it. Anyway.
Yeah, we did take our kids to an arcade this summer and hadn't been to, you know, just a Pac-Man game in a really long time. And I definitely got sucked into Miss Pac-Man for a good 30 minutes. I was Galaga, Pac-Man, all those. Oh,
I miss those.
My partner was the Virtua Fighting 4 champion of Philadelphia for lots of years. And so my lack of hand-eye coordination is actually not helpful, right? Like, because I actually suck at these kinds of things, but
What's fun?
oh well.
Centipede. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
Yeah, like some of those retro games are coming
I
back
know.
where I feel like my teenagers totally love Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, which I think is fantastic.
You could buy the cubes now. I've always threatened, like, I'm going to buy one of those arcade games and put it in our house. Like, we have room for a full-size arcade game. All right. So what are you listening to? What are you watching, or what are you reading? Liz, we'll start with you. Reading, watching, listening to.
All right. Well, what I'm reading is about the Seven Mountains Mandate and Dominionism. So that that's about that isn't lighter. But what we're watching as a family is Wednesday.
Oh,
and
yes.
We've always been obsessed with the Addams Family, which is like super, super fun. Just like quirky and weird, and just feels like
I haven't not watched the second season. Does it hold up?
It does. Okay. It really, so I'm a little bit of a sensitive person. And so parts of it are a little stressful for someone like me, but I'm special when it comes to that. So I'm not sure that anyone else in my family thinks that the amount of sensitivity that I have is valid.
Okay. What are you listening to? Podcast, music, whatever.
Oh. Well, today I was listening to the new Taylor Swift album because it's out, and mostly to pretend like I can keep up with what some people are talking about. Is it
Stories of a Showgirl? Tales of a Showgirl?
Something of a Showgirl. Yeah. There's definitely Showgirl in the
That's as
title.
Much as I've kept up with it. I'll probably listen to it, but that's as much as I kept up with it.
I was enjoying it. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, I can always listen to a good pop tune. I'll wait till the NPR pop culture one does it, and then I'll get to it.
Oh, that's fun.
They just did Sabrina Carpenter. If you ever listen to the NPR podcast of the pop culture one, listen to the one they did on Sabrina Carpenter one, because having a bunch of, like, they do 4 generations of commentators to do it on Sabrina Carpenter. It's hysterical.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hysterical to hear
that. Would be really
funny. It's pretty funny. Anyway. All right, Sharon, what are you reading, watching, listening to? What are you doing these days?
Yeah, I would say similar to Liz, it's nothing fun for reading, so I will spare you on that one. I have a friend that's very into fiction and is always trying to give
me
something
fun.
Yeah, nice fun books, and I'm always like, I know. But watching, we are trying to still catch up on finishing this second season of Andor. So yeah, we are on
It is good. It is good.
Episode 6 of the second season. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see them putting out this piece in this moment. So yeah,
I agree.
And then I'm listening. I'm actually my birthday is coming up, and so my partner was gracious to find tickets to a John Legend concert, and they're doing an anniversary of the Get Lifted album. So I've been going back to listen to the Get Lifted album.
Oh, that's a good album.
Mm-hmm. It was a good album.
I like that.
Yeah,
maybe I'm going to listen to that.
So this is
today.
This is a segment I get to participate in. The nerdy niche I share all the time. So listening to, I'll do reading. So reading, we've just been doing a bunch of driving. This will, Sharon, do you have your PhD? I don't know. I know Liz does.
I do. Yeah,
you do. Okay,
yeah.
So you guys are nerdies. Our youngest, our youngest will now be the most educated in our family. Just started a PhD program, so we've been just moved her into her apartment in University of Oregon. So we've been doing all this driving. Oh my gosh! So we just listened to this new book by Jeff Chang on Bruce Lee, like this deep dive.
Oh my gosh!
It is so good. It is the best.
I want that.
It is the best.
Maybe I can listen to that with
you
my
should
people.
totally listen to it. It is the best biography. I've learned so much, because he does not just about him, but all the context about immigration, and it's written right now, so it's so good. Anyway, so that's what I'm.
Wow, I'm gonna check.
I'm also listening. So that's listening and reading. So that's kind of both. We're watching Chief of War, which was HBO. That's the Jason Momoa about Hawaii.
Oh, got it.
Excellent.
Nice.
It's pissing off the right because it's mostly spoken in Hawaiian.
That's awesome.
So but it does go into English, because I think they probably figured the whole thing couldn't be done in Hawaiian, so they're doing both. And listening to I have fallen in love with this podcast it's called Sherlock and Company. It's a Sherlock Holmes podcast.
Is it mysteries?
Yeah, it's Sherlock Holmes. I'm very good at brain candy. I love brain candy stuff. So there you go.
I love mysteries, so I might have to check it out.
There you go. If you need a fun book, though, I'm also going through one called Carl the Dungeon Crawler. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons. It's totally science fiction fantasy. So fun. But anyway, There you go. It's also a good listen.
I could recommend that to my 13-year-old who
I think
needs to be finding books that are interesting. So
I think it's 13-year-old friendly. Yeah.
It's okay if it's not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
totally.
is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
He's a New Yorker. I feel like he's
that's probably true. That's probably true.
Above 13-year-old things.
That is probably true. Yeah, San Francisco, New York. That's probably fine.
Exactly.
All right. Last thing is any rant, encouragement, or comfort either of you want to leave with folks who are listening for our times.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to go on a rant just because, I mean, there's just a lot to rage against these days. I mean, the thing that I feel like I'm raging against every day, but especially the last week or so, has been this pig headset, and the Department of War, quote unquote, put out this video rendition of the Lord's Prayer in honor of Charlie Kirk.
I saw that.
So I just would like everyone should rant against it, because this prayer that Jesus teaches us, like, literally is about, good news to the poor and like on earth as it is in heaven, and forgive us our debts. And somehow they've made it into like nationalist war propaganda. That is just anathema, actually.
I saw that and I thought it wasn't real.
I know, right? I was showing it to a group, and a couple of people asked me, like, I was like, literally, it was a group of congregations.
AI generated?
And then
I know,
like, but we're like, but we thought maybe this was just ironic or like sarcastic, and I was like, no, the reason we're talking about this is because it's not.
Yeah, I completely thought it was not real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's really rough.
Thanks for ruining my day, Liz.
I know. I was like...
Well, I didn't ruin your day.
That's okay. You're right.
That wasn't me. That is not what I believe about the Lord's Prayer.
I did not produce that video. Maybe we should do
produced by Liz Theoharis
video.
Oh, I know, right? We could do like a high production valued version of actually what the Lord's Prayer is about.
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, I think that might need to happen.
Sharon, what's your rant?
I'll try to be a little more
encouragement?
I'll be a encouragement, because I think we need to end with something there.
Hell yeah.
And I'm just gonna give you one more song phrase.
Okay. Well, that's a good way. Sing us out.
This kind of moment. Yeah. So I'm gonna say a song that comes from, we mentioned the apartheid struggle, and we've learned lots of lessons, and I think it's relevant in this moment. It's a song that comes from that struggle, and it's called Courage. And we say, courage, my friend, you do not move alone. We will move with you and sing your spirit home.
Amen. Amen. I think we sang that at the detention center.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with me this morning. It has been a pleasure. So good to be with you all.
To be with you.
You all, everybody listening, you need to make sure you pick up this and previous books by Liz and all of the folks that she has worked with. But this one in particular, by Liz and Sharon, We Pray Freedom, Liturgies and Rituals from the Freedom Church of the Poor, from Broadleaf Books. You can find it in all the places that you buy your books. And make sure that you subscribe, rate this podcast and all the places. All of the things will be, all the links and how you can get in touch with everybody will be in the show notes. All those kind of things. Again, so glad you could be with us. Make sure that you subscribe again, do all the things you do with the podcast. Again, thank you all for hanging out with us today, and we will see you next week on the Amalgamation Podcast. This podcast was hosted by Bruce Reyes-Chow, produced by Emmy Hicks, edited by Desiree McFarland, with music by Marissa Magdal-Laron, and inspired by ancestors past and generations to come. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to subscribe to the Amalgamation newsletter at reyes-chow.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.